So some things are real. So, for example, if you touch a brick, that is a real thing. Stick with me on this one. If you have a soccer ball and you kick the ball, that is a real thing. It exists. The soccer ball is in front of you on the ground. Some things are generated continually. This is what's fascinating. So some things exist and some things are a continuum. Even in a non-quantum field, okay? So in a quantum world, there are particles and there are continuums, right? There are waves. I would argue that even in the non-quantum world, there are things that exist and that things that are existing. I would call things that exist everything that we see in reality, right? And things that are existing as continuums or generations. So in the particle world, you have a particle and you have a wave. And in the real world, you have things that exist and that things that are generated to exist. They need some sort of energy source. So for example, you could have an oil field, right? So you have a pipeline. The pipeline exists. The pipe is there. The generation would be, for example, oil is being pumped out of the ground. That's a generation. So your being, as in you are there, or for example, you might have debt. Like debt is my favorite one because I find it so funny because I pay no mind to it. If you have debt, the debt exists. There's a literal database with an entry of your debt, your name, your ID, whatever, and how much you owe. And then there's people who look through this list every single day and they call you. I don't pick up. They don't have my number. They don't even know where I live. I don't even know where I live half the time. So that's impossible. But for other people, they have a very good way of finding you. That's both an existence and a generation, funny enough. This is where things get very fascinating. So if you have a soccer ball in front of you, it exists, it is there. Done. If you have a thought of love, if you have a thought of hatred, or if you have a thought of suffering, that is actually being generated by you. Now you might say, well, I don't get to choose how much I suffer. You do kind of ultimately, but let's just say you don't, and it's just happening. It's still being generated by you, right? So the concept is, if the moment you died, it would stop being generated, right? You would, or if you stop eating food, or if you went away from the situation long enough, you would stop generating those thoughts. So it is a generation by you. There are certain things that kind of cross that threshold where I would argue that debt is both real and a generation. Like the fact that it exists in a database somewhere, how much money you owe someone does exist. That's a real constant concept. But then funny enough, somebody calling you is a generation. They need to wake up every single day, choose to go to work, choose to call you about that debt. What's really interesting is even things that we consider real are generated to some extent if they are battling against entropy. So even something in a hard drive, you could look this up. Let's say that you have an entry in a hard drive that there's a document, like a Word document or whatever PDF. It doesn't really matter, but there's some information in this document. It is kind of being held together by electricity. They have to replicate it, but that's a generation. So there's certain things that are both present and real in this moment, but there's something generating that thing. So in the macro world, in the non-particle world, there are constants and there are generations. Most of the things that we suffer from are actually generations. The reason is because you yourself are not constant. You're being generated day by day. Your thoughts are, the fact that you're eating food. There's a lot of things that are needed to keep you going. Arguably, even the sun isn't a constant. So that's what's fascinating. Anyways, I just want to tell you that your suffering isn't actually real. You're creating it. Bye. Please subscribe.